Thanks. Good afternoon, everybody. If we could go to the next slide, please. My name is Alice. I recently joined the Recyclability Assessment Methodology team. I won't spend too long on this. As Dex already mentioned, the 28th of April, so last Monday, we published version 1.1 of the Recyclability Assessment Methodology. As Dex mentioned, we worked very hard with industry on this. It incorporates a lot of changes and suggestions from industry on version 1, a kind of impossibilities. So it is a simplified version of the RAM. It's designed to make it easier for liable producers and compliance schemes to be able to assess and to report against the RAM this year in 2025. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that over the next few months, or as soon as we're able, we're going to have a kind of package of support that will be published for the recyclability assessment methodology. It's going to include two elements, one of which will be an agreed positions document. Some of you may have seen that the Environment Agency has an agreed positions document for the RAM. The DEFRA one will be there to essentially aid producers in filling out their assessments, provide some kind of notes and examples that aren't able to be included in the RAM itself, and just to provide some clarifications as well. We will also be separately publishing a series of one-page guidance notes for all of the materials covered under the RAM. These, again, will be to kind of aid interpretation. There'll be a kind of list of what constitutes a red, amber, and a green rating for all of the materials. And so it will just make it easier for producers to follow. And just to say as well, the updated methodology, just to be clear, that kind of that updated methodology reflects PackUK's commitment to continuously improving. Industry engagement is a huge part of that, and we do welcome that on a continued basis to make the whole process more practical, intuitive, accessible. The RAM will be updated annually, so do feel free to get in touch on that. I'm going to pass it over to Ben now, who is going to talk about fees.
Thanks, Alice. Could I have the next slide, please? Hi, everyone. So my name is Ben. I'm an economist working on modulation. And obviously, we presented the modulation policy proposal last month at the Circular Economy Forum. And we've since sent a survey out to you. And I'm just going to go through the kind of feedback received and hopefully kind of clear some things up. So this is just a kind of reminder of what we presented last month. Kind of our proposal for modulation is from next year, from 2026, we sort of start increasing the red RAM category material packaging by a modulation factor or a kind of uplift. So essentially from 2026, it might be 1.2 times the base fee, and then this increases over the next 3 years. Whereas, if you produce amber materials, it's not going to change. It will be charged the kind of current base fee that will be calculated as they are now. Whereas, if you produce the kind of most recyclable materials, then that will be basically the premium charged to red will be used to fund a percentage discount across all green materials across material categories. And the idea is that we use the RAM as the basis for modulation in the first 3 years of the policy, and then potentially add other sustainability factors which are kind of set out in the legislation after that from 2029. But this is kind of designed to give some certainty while also kind of encouraging the outcomes we want in the packaging market. Could I have the next slide, please? So this is just kind of emphasizing what I said. Basically the uplift, the proposed uplift in the red materials will be used to fund a percentage discount on green materials. And while we can't give a kind of definite percentage discount in advance, obviously, we'll be able to kind of look at the data coming in and kind of give kind of illustrative discounts. The same way we're kind of giving illustrative base fees now. The key thing is, if you're a producer, is modulation is always cost neutral for the whole sector. It's kind of on top of PEPR. It doesn't add costs to all producers. It basically just redistribute funds from unrecyclable materials put on the market to recyclable materials put on the market. And the kind of move in discount makes sure that it's always kind of cost neutral overall. Can I have the next slide, please? So given that, we sent out a quick survey at the last forum, and we got really good responses. 180 people or organizations responded to the survey from kind of a range of stakeholders, particularly kind of large packaging producers, which is really what we want to see. And overall, more supported the approach that we suggest than rejected it. 45% foreseed kind of change in their packaging plans in response to the modulation factors that we proposed. And then some producers voiced concerns about complying with the RAM in time, particularly for H1, and not seeing base fees in advance to plan adequately. Some also voiced concerns about medical packaging and modulation, which is very clear in the legislation. That medical packaging will have an option to kind of opt out from modulation and just be charged base fee. So just wanted to clear that up. But we plan to just go through the rest of the results. So could I have the next slide, please? So this is a summary of who answered. As you can see, probably about 70% are large obligated packaging producers, and then a kind of mix of other stakeholders like trade bodies, very small numbers of local government representatives, waste management companies, and other. And then you can see the kind of materials that they are concerned with, the material categories, a really broad mix, which is also what we want to see, which is, great. So next slide, please. So this was the first question. So basically agreeing or disagreeing with our methodology for calculating the modulated fees based on the RAM. And overall, 46% agreed with the methodology. Again, that's just going through the methodology that I've already explained. But obviously, it's not kind of like a vast majority, but more agree with it than disagree. Can I have the next slide, please? So there's obviously less support for our proposed modulation factors, which aren't final. But for 2026, we asked about the 1.2 times base fee factor for red materials. Overall, 41% agreed with it. And we also asked about the kind of higher factors in 2027 and 2028 of 1.6 times base fee and 2 times base fee for red materials. Overall, 28% agreed, whereas 45% disagreed. It's also important to note here that we also asked a kind of secondary follow-up question for the people who disagreed. Do you think it should be higher or lower? And actually, quite a significant proportion thought that it should be higher. It certainly wasn't universal to be lower. So obviously we need to strike a balance, and obviously higher factors benefit certain producers over others. So we need to think of like a balance to strike here. Could I have the next slide, please? So then we asked, having seen the factors proposed in the initial proposal, do you foresee changing any of your existing plans to use more recyclable materials in your packaging? Overall, 45% of respondents see themselves changing their existing plans. Again, obviously, we want to incentivize the use of recyclable packaging in the packaging market, and this is obviously positive to see in terms of like our main core aims of PEPR. Can I have the next slide, please? So that's the main points I wanted to cover. But essentially, the survey closed on April 25th. We've obviously received 180 responses. So we have many pages of comments to go through. We're still kind of looking at the comments and kind of considering changes to the proposed approach after we've kind of completed the analysis of the feedback and the evidence received. Our modulation approach overall is also currently in review, so is still subject to change, and the timeline cannot be guaranteed. but our current aim is for the final fee modulation policy statement to be published in June. And I will be presenting it hopefully along with a kind of more detailed breakdown of what was kind of talked about in the survey at the next June Circular Economy Stakeholder Forum. And that's it from me, I think, but happy to answer any questions later on. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Ben. If we can just flick forward one slide, please. Ben, have you already spoken to this slide, or is this another colleague to come in?
That's me, Joseph, covering this. Julia here.
Come in, please, Julia. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to share a digital update that outlines the next phase of planned enhancement we are working hard to deliver as part of the extended producer responsibility for packaging service evolution. So these improvements are designed to enhance the overall experience of the platform, as well as a regulatory alignment, and they will be introduced progressively through a series of releases during May. While the timing and structure of these releases may vary slightly, I would like to highlight 5 core areas of focus to give you a sense of what is coming. So first, we are working on functionality to calculate producer recycling obligations using reported packaging data, and that is in line with 2024 EPR regulations. And that will help producers understand and meet their compliance targets through accepting packaging recycling notes and packaging export recycling notes. Second, we are introducing functionality to track in-year changes to registrations so that producers and compliance schemes could comply with their legal obligations to update regulators on the changes to their corporate structure. And this will help reflect any adjustments, support adherence to the regulator's legislative requirements, and to ensure that obligations calculation remains accurate. Third, on the agenda, we will enable functionality for producers and compliance schemes acting on their behalf to view and pay a late registration fee, which will be applicable for submissions made after the deadline. There are also updates coming to the resubmission of the producers placed on the market packaging data, allowing producers and compliance schemes to view and pay the relevant fee associated with the resubmissions. And finally, we are introducing functionality to display the public registers, ensuring a transparent access to producers and compliance schemes registrations and compliance information, which is again in line with the 2024 EPR regulatory requirements. The first of these updates is expected to begin rolling out in early May. And as part of this preparation, there may be some downtime on Thursday, the 8th of May, so later this week, between 7:20 a.m. and 4 p.m., in case anyone had planned to use the service during that time. Please be aware that while that is our target window, it may extend if additional time is needed to support the release and to ensure that everything goes smoothly. We'll anyway keep you updated as things progress. That will be done through the newsletter or any other relevant channels. And we look forward to continuing to improve the service to better support your reporting activities.